Hello everybody, welcome to a Facebook Live with Jeannie. I am Jeannie Nielsen, the card lady, and I'm very excited to be here with you today for many reasons. First of all, I didn't think I was going to be here today. I thought I had dinner plans with a former patient of mine. I say former because he's doing well. This week he's going to be celebrating his 1-year birthday status post transplant. We were supposed to go out, a couple of the nurses that took care of him and husband and wife, and we were going to go out to dinner, and I had the wrong month. So we look forward to doing that in July. Anyway, I also worked overnight and had no idea, once again, what I was going to do today. That's never, ever, ever a surprise. I'm sure I'm in the camera. But anyway, I a lot of times I kind of stumble through things looking around my studio, trying to figure out what am I going to do. Well, this weekend we had the Creatively Yours, that may not be the name of it, but anyway, it was a demonstrator event, a virtual event sponsored by Stampin' Up! For demonstrators, where we could watch different demonstrations. And we got together as a team with my upline Marilyn up in Methuen, and we had a shoebox swap. And I ended up making some cards, and that led me to be inspired for what we're going to do today. She is probably, my uplines probably got 2 levels above her, and then there's a level above her is Connie. And so Connie might be my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother in Stampin' Up! Years. I think she's been doing it for 20 to 25 years. So anyway, I'm going to show you the card. This is the card. Oh, hi, Marilyn. Just talking about you. I don't know what Connie would be to me. I don't know if Lynn was directly above you. But anyway, so glad you could join me. This is the card we made. This is a beautiful card using the Sweet Citrus Hybrid Bundle. So the Sweet Citrus Hybrid Bundle is a bundle because it is a stamp set. It is a set of dies, and it actually has a matching embossing folder. They've done that a couple of times now, that they've done embossing folders, and then you could use the dies to cut out the embossed images. So that's what this was. I just love this card. Okay, so her upline was Brooke, and then Lynn was her upline. So Lynn would be my grandmother now because there's a level missing. So Connie would be my great-great-grandmother in Stampin' Up! Years. Anyway, so we made this beautiful card, and we will do this in class. We're not going to do it today. I have other cards showing you the Sweet Citrus Bundle. And yes, I came up with them all this afternoon. Not totally inspired by myself. I had to go to Pinterest. I honestly haven't been to Pinterest in ages and ages. But today I decided I had to go, and boy, do I love what I came up with. So without further ado, let's flip down. Actually, what I'm going to do is flip up and then show you my stamping space. My host code for June is here if you want to buy the Sweet Citrus Bundle. And then if you do, of course, you get this card class for free. And you're going to love it. I think you're really going to love it. So here we go. I'm going to move myself up just like that, just so you don't see my mess behind me. I'm going to flip down like that. There we go. Okay, so let's go down even a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so this is the first card that I just showed you. I honestly think it's so beautiful. I'm going wide so I make sure that I always have things in the camera. And in fact, maybe I should go up a little bit so you see everything. There we go. This uses Granny Apple Green. The paper was actually, I think it was, yeah, it was Lemon Lolly. So the paper was Lemon Lolly, and then we embossed it with the hybrid embossing folder. Actually, they did it for us. Lynn and Connie did. And then we used the blending brushes with Melon Mambo and Crushed Curry to add some color. And it looks like a ruby red grapefruit, doesn't it? Isn't that so cool? I really love those colors. It looks like summer. And that inspired me to go on and make these other cards. So here is card number 2. I saw lots of lemon cards, lots of lime cards. This one is actually an orange card. And now that I'm looking at it through the lens of my camera, it looks a little spotty, but I'll tell you what I did. So I embossed this layer, and we're going to do that in a second. You know, I guess I didn't. You know what? I may have to show you that one too, because it turns out I didn't get everything ready for that card, but I can tell you what I did. So I have a Calypso Coral card base, 5.5 by 8.5. I scored it at 4 1/4. Then I have a layer here, and I don't know if you can see it. It's actually pumpkin pie to bring out the orange of the oranges. And I'm pretty sure it is, yeah, it's 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, which means my layer underneath here, the basic white, is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then I embossed it with this embossing folder. So this is the hybrid embossing folder that I was talking about. There's so much detail. It makes a great background, but then you can also cut out these shapes right there and have different things that are already embossed, a little bit more detail. You can stamp them, you can color them, and this is what I did. So I'm not going to be able to do the whole card because it turns out that I didn't bring the pumpkin pie or the Calypso Coral here. I worked overnight last night, so I'm not thinking as clearly as could be. Then I got a little bit distracted because we had another thunderstorm go through our area. We had one go through yesterday. My goodness, the lightning struck. We either think the house across the street or the road, but whatever it was, all you could hear was screaming and yelling in the neighborhood, and everybody was scared. But everybody's safe. Everybody has electricity. It's all good now. But Minnie, of course, I have Mickey and Minnie, my little pups. Minnie was pretty nervous, so she kept trying to climb up my leg when the thunder came by again this afternoon, just actually about an hour ago. So, okay, so what I'm going to do, I need to use my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I thought that I'd be fine with the mini boss, but you actually need the big boss, the big machine, to die cut, to emboss this folder. So let me grab that. And you could actually emboss this wherever you wanted. You could choose to put this wherever you want in the folder. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't even have to be straight as long as it's all in the folder because there's all kinds of detail in here. I'm just going to put it in here. I actually put it to the top left because it's a little bit different than what I'm die cutting. So I kind of liked that. Okay, so I've got my sandwich. I've got my bottom plate. I'm using the blue plate. We were talking about that this weekend, how you do the sandwich for embossing. I'm using the blue plate that we got way back when with our Big Shot, and it actually works really well with this one as well. What I should be using to be more current is probably the gray plate. That came with everybody's new Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So here we go. And look how much detail there is. So much detail. This would look beautiful with the shimmer paper. Yeah, you had that storm. Storm was scary, but we've had some unsettling weather this week, as has the Midwest and the South. I know my friend Judy is dealing with temperatures 110 to 112 degrees in Texas. And my goodness, I cannot even imagine. Because it turns out that last night our AC quit. And that wouldn't be a big deal if it was 65, 70 degrees. But when it's 85 and very humid, that's really a hard thing. Okay, so I have here already my layer, and this is what I would attach to my 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 inch piece of pumpkin pie. So I'm going to set that aside for a second. I've already die cut. I've embossed and die cut these, in this case, oranges, any citrus. This case, like I said, this case it's oranges. You can make them lemons by coloring them yellow. I've seen people make them into kiwis. I've seen people make them into limes. So lemons, limes, oranges, grapefruits, kiwis, all kinds of things. And I'm even going to show you one. I found one online, which is actually a coconut. So we're going to do that in just a second with our next card. But I'll just show you how easy this is. I have the pumpkin pie blends. I have the light and the dark. I use the dark on the outside and the light on the inside. And I actually am coloring the whole thing right up to the embossed line here. Unfortunately, and you know, it soaks right in because of the embossing. So you might have to go over it more than once, which is why I think mine looks a little bit spotty. Probably when you're embossing, especially with the folders that have a little bit more detail, it actually breaks up the fibers. So things get absorbed differently. The blends are going to absorb differently. But this is how I'm doing this. So I'm using the light pumpkin pie blend on here. Just like that. Actually, this one I'm going to go right up to the top because you're not going to have the, you're not going to use the dark and see the rind of the orange at the top of that. So I'm going to go right to the top. I'm not going to do this one because I can't finish the card anyway. So we'll just do it just a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. With the blends, it just kind of soaks right in. Now, if you wanted to, you certainly could use Wink of Stella on here too. But I'm coloring the whole thing. And under the camera, you can see probably more spots than I can. You can see areas where it could use a little bit more detail. So this is just what I'm doing. And then what I did, also included in the kit, are some leaves and some flowers. I don't think I used the flowers on this one now that I think about it. I just used the leaves. Sorry, I'm distracted. I can't do two things at the same time. Yes, I just used the leaves. So I colored all of them with the blends, just like I did right here. Then I have a 1/2-inch strip, and I've told everybody before how I get the 1/2-inch strip. So this 1/2-inch strip that I use for a lot of my long, narrow sentiments is leftover from what I use for my inserts for my cards. All of my cards that use basic white as their standard color, you know, basic white versus vanilla as the insert, are 4 by 5 1/4. You cut 4 of them and you have a long 1/2-inch strip left at the top and at the side. And that is what I save and put in my scrap bin, and I use that for all of my sentiments. So what I did, boy, I didn't do well at all getting ready for this one, but I stamped the sentiment, enjoy the sweeter things in life. This would also be a great one to use, and I have it here in the bin. Have a zesty birthday, because of course you've got orange zest, lemon zest, lime zest, anything citrus would work. I was going to use it with my coconuts, and coconuts are not zesty, so I had to change my plan. Just right here, so I have my, the leaves are super simple to stamp, and I use garden green for that. I just want to show you a little trick. You're going to end up stamping multiple sets of leaves. Multiple, because all of them look better with anywhere from 2 to 5 sets of leaves. So what I have here, what I'm going to do, I stamp this like this, and then I'm going to flip it over and do the other one right next to that. Now, I'm probably not going to be able to die cut that at the same time, but that doesn't matter because you get 2 sets of dies with this bundle. So I can alternate so that I can use the other one, and see how easy it is to fit. And I'm not over top, so I can't see if I'm stamping it correctly or not. Oh, not bad. I'll just cut those 2 at the same time and those 2 at the same time, and then you'll be all set. So those are the leaves. There's only 1 set of leaf to stamp, but then who needs that? You just need the 2 sets of dies, makes it a lot handier to die cut. So I only put 2 leaves here. And then, of course, these gems. I can't remember the name of these gems. Marilyn, maybe you remember the gems. These gems were on low inventory a while back, and I love the... these look to me like Calypso Coral. I thought they went with the desert set in the last catalog, in the desert suite, but I could be wrong. It went very well with it, I do know that. But I just added a couple of little gems there, and voila, we've got our card. So 5.5 by 8.5 Calypso Coral, 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 Pumpkin Pie, 3 3/4 by 5-inch Basic White embossed with the hybrid embossing folder. Then I did a scrap piece. I embossed these and then I die cut them. And let me show you what the die looks like. This is the die. So the stamp, let me show you what the stamp looks like. So this is the rind of the citrus, whatever it's going to be. So, and then you've got your dies, which perfectly cut those out just like that. Isn't that so cool? Love that. Okay, I'm going to put this aside. And that essentially is the inside of our card. Obviously, what we are going to do is put a basic white layer inside and stamp so that we have no naked insides. I learned that from Rose this weekend. My goodness. My friend Rose, I was introduced to her. She lives in California. She's actually one of Marilyn's very, very good friends who I had the pleasure of meeting at one of our conventions. And I see her online. But anyway, her cards are so ornate and so fabulous. And she makes sure that even the inside is a work of art. So my husband, whether or not I say it, I say, look at this card. What do you think? Oh, I love it. And then he opens I said, there's nothing on the inside. Well, he doesn't get that. He still opens the card looking for the inside. So I have to do better at that. So anyway, that's card number 2, kind of. So this was card number 1. This is card number 2. So look how bright and cheery those cards are. Love that. Okay, I'm going to set that aside because I'm not prepared at all with that one. Let's go to my next card. I'll finish this one. What I've been doing lately is I have a set of cards that I make online for you guys, and then I have a set of cards that I make to show you how it's done first, so you see the finished product. I've been lately making it so that for my card classes, for all of my card classes, you can see 2 samples, because usually somebody has it facing them and somebody has the back of it. So now everybody has 2 sets when they come to my card classes. So that's really cool. Okay, let's move on. I'm babbling because I'm tired. Can't wait to go to bed tonight so that I can get up at 4 a.m. and go to work in the clinic tomorrow, but that's okay. Okay, I've already die cut these. These are really, really easy to die cut. And what I always do is I take a Post-it note, and the little sticky part is where I stick my loose pieces so that they never get lost. Okay, this is card number 3. I am in love with card number 3. Isn't that so pretty? I don't know if Marilyn would recognize this or not, but this was actually similar to one of our cards that we did this weekend. This was Lynn's card. Lynn's card was Old Olive, and she used, you can see this die right here. It looks like a table to me. She used the Stripes and Splatters dies. So the Stripes and Splatters are 2 embossing folders. They come as a bundle. You get both of them. They're 3D embossing folders, and I just love how it does the stripes. I've actually used the splatters too. Isn't that so cool? And it really is pretty wide. So you can even, it's not hard to put a piece of paper back into if you wanted a paper that's more like 4 by 5 1/4. But for your narrower pieces, this is really good. So I've already embossed it, but I wanted to show you this. So that's that. The Stripes and Splatters embossing folders, you're going to want it. Then I used the blue gingham paper. I was thinking that what I wanted to do was a red, white, and blue card. Well, it's really hard to do red, white, and blue, but I am going to show you what I did for this card, and I am so excited about this card. So excited. So my base is 5.5 by 8.5 Starry Sky. And I've already got that cut and scored here and ready to go. Oops. Run away. Gem in the middle. Okay. So I have here I believe, I'm going to have to tell you. So the basic white layer is 4 by 5 1/4 inches on the Starry Sky base. So then next, that meant that this little piece of cardstock, which is Pecan Pie, one of our new core neutral colors. It's 5 inches by 2 inches. Just like that. And I ran it through the embossing folder. So easy. And I came up with this. And the blues and the browns work really, really well together, but I love the rest of these colors. But let me show you how I did that. And yep, I left that over here too. I have a piece already done, and it kind of made me forget that I had to show you guys how we did this. So we are going to make our own flowers. Look at how bright they are. Aren't they so beautiful? I used a scrap. I'm going to do that right here. I used a scrap of watercolor paper. I had some strips in there, and it worked out really, really well. Let's move that right there so you guys can see what I'm doing. I have 2 reinkers. And I was inspired by the colors of this card. When Connie put the card together, the colors that we sponged the insides with was Crushed Curry and Melon Mambo. So I chose those colors, and I'm going to take a clear block. If you have any kind of palette, you can put it there, but our clear blocks work really well, and this is going to wash off very well right at the end. I'm going to do a drop of the Melon Mambo and a drop of the Crushed Curry. And I have one of our water painters. I filled it with water. I have to tell you guys something. I laugh about it now. I thought I had defective water painters because I could not open it to put the water in. When you put the water in, I kept trying to turn it to the left because they say lefty-loosey, right? Well, I kept trying to turn it. Well, actually, I guess I was turning it to the right, but really if it doesn't work one way, do it the other way. Fills very easily. The barrel fills really easily with water, and then turn it the other way to screw it back on. I honestly was using pliers to get this apart, and I ruined a whole set of water painters. That's how determined I was to make it work the way it doesn't work. Okay, I filled this with water. This is the medium-sized one, I believe. And I'm going to squeeze some water right onto my drops here. And I'm going to make them run a little bit, just like that. And then I'm going to take my water painter, and I'm going to pick up these colors. And I'm just going to do, that's probably a nice, if I wanted to get rid of it, I should have a paper towel here. Actually, I have a Kleenex right here that I could use to clean that if I wanted to. I'm going to try and pick up a little bit more of the Melon Mambo right here. See how it's so pretty with the pink? And I didn't do a great job going to the edges, so I'm going to try and do a better job going to the edges. If you need to clean the brush, you just kind of bleed it out onto your paper towel. Got to do more, just like that. I don't know where the yellow is. We'll try to see if that's more yellow. No. Okay, you know what? I got to put another dot of the Crushed Curry on here because I really did want a little bit of yellow. So let's just do that. I've got my Crushed Curry reinker. I'm just going to do it like that. Just like that. Isn't that so cool? And I'm just going to bleed those two together, and I'm going to come up with my own flowers. So this is the watercolor painter that I did, watercolor paper that I did that with. I can't go back over and fill in the spots because I'll never have the same color. But that's the idea. So because, let me move this out of the way so it doesn't spill all over everything. I did this on this paper as well. So I already had a bunch of this, and this is already dry. So let me set this aside. This will be good for another time. Everybody, when they come to my class, will be cutting their own flowers and mixing their own color. Everybody is going to be looking differently. So with the dies, I have a whole bunch of dies here. We have 2 sets of the flowers, the 3 flowers, small and large, and then there's 2 of the larger flowers. So I can layer those. Let me get out my mini boss, my boho blue mini boss, and we're going to cut those flowers. I'm just going to cut them really quickly. I don't have to do anything got my plates here behind me. You need the white base plate and 2 of your clear plates for that. I can do it with my mini boss right here. Yes, this is the right one. I wanted to make sure I didn't, this is the one that I've die cut. What I'm going to do is just layer on some of my flowers, just like that, and I'm going to cut them out individually. To get the small and the large, I can do a couple of small ones just like that, layering it right there, making sure you guys can see me. You know, you've got all kinds of flowers. You could cut out bunches and bunches of the flowers. I'll just do a couple real quick, just so that you get the idea of what I'm doing. I can do a few in the strip because I've got, like I said, multiples of the dies. And I'll do, yeah, good enough. Okay, I don't want them to crowd on top of each other because I don't want to ruin either my machine or my dies. So even though they're right next to each other, make sure that they're not overlapping. You really don't want to run, if you put that pressure on it, those dies will turn into, they'll do whatever. This machine will squeeze it to death, and you can ruin both your dies and your machine that way. So just be very careful. So that's how easy it is to get multiple flowers. I don't care about this one. I could layer it underneath and nobody would see. Or like I said, I wanted some small and some large. So here are my flowers. Sorry, I'm sitting down, so I'm not sure if you're seeing everything that I'm doing or not. Let me move these flowers off for a second. I'm gonna just cut a couple more flowers very quickly so that I can finish making this card. If you notice, I have on here ferns, and you know, I should have kept, there's a tropical punch that is the online tropical punch, and it probably would have been terrific for this, and I mean terrific. But I gave mine away in a raffle and never purchased another one. So I had to go through the catalog and try to find a fern. Well, the only fern I could find was with the Earth and Textures bundle. So it's a little bit more of like a houseplantish type of fern than a tropical fern. But you get the idea. I saw this card online. Like I said, I just kind of took a couple of ideas that were online. I'm going to throw these dies in my metal bowl so that I don't lose my pieces. I now keep a metal bowl close to me. And my downline Shirley said that I should keep a spare metal bowl on my counter. There are times when I cannot figure out what a die goes to. So if it's impossible to figure out what the die goes to, we just throw it in that metal bowl and we're good to go. Okay, so let's finish making our card here. Haven't glued anything yet. Hopefully this glue is going to work. I've got all the pieces here that I was just telling you about. There we go. I finished 2 glues today. You guys all know how much of a fan of the multi-purpose glue I am. Big, big fan. I prefer that to the Seal or Seal Plus any day. Okay, I'm gonna just layer that at the bottom. Well, you know what? I guess I never cut it down. Let's see if I can cut it down with my paper snips and get it relatively short, because this is supposed to be 2 by 5 inches and it's not. I'm gonna just cut that off. I don't want to run this through the paper trimmer because I will have glue everywhere. So I'm trying to do this. I'm gonna have to wash my scissors too, my paper snips. Okay, let's just do it like that. And hopefully that is close enough. Yeah, not perfect, but before you start, measure it, and you're going to have 5 inches by 2 inches. That's what you want. Okay. Now I've got my gingham. I can use this one or this one, and even though I could use this one, I still prefer the bigger gingham to the smaller. So let's just attach that right here on our paper. just like that. And now what we need to do very quickly is make our coconuts. And that is easy to do as well. I have another piece of watercolor paper, and I'll tell you why I chose watercolor paper. It's not that I'm going to do anything watercoloring with this, but it's a good color. It's not vanilla and it's not white, and it looks more like coconut to me. So let me, boy, I got a lot going on here, don't I? I always end up spreading out. Here's my scrap paper. Let's hope these are, yeah, they're not glue. I didn't get glue on them, so that's good. Put my paper snips away for a second. And what I'm going to do is use my pecan pie, my new pecan pie ink pad. Trying to keep up, trying to keep clean, because otherwise things get messy and things get lost. Just doing that. Okay, what I'm going to use is this stamp, this image, the multiple, I guess it would be rinds, and for this one, it's going to be coconut rinds. So making a mess, guys. I am making a mess. I'm going to just really stamp up these two outside larger ones. And what I'm going to do is stamp them right in the center of my scrap of my watercolor paper, just like that. And then to make it look a little bit more like coconuts, what I did was I'm going to take some early espresso ink right here. And I've got a little bit of ink right here in my lid. Not much. I'm not doing much at all. I'm just going to kind of dab it in there. And I honestly like to make sure that I kind of do a quick swipe on my scrap paper, because I don't want a concentrated blob of ink. But so what I'm going to do is just take this just like that and just add a little bit of color to the inside of my coconut. And now, doesn't that look like a coconut? Isn't that great? Okay, so that's the only thing I use the early espresso ink for. Now what I need to do, let's bring my Baby Boss, my boho blue Baby Boss back in, and I'm going to use the dies, and this die will fit in here, just barely, but it will fit in there. And I'm going to cut out, hopefully this is going to work. I may have to cut down my thing so that, yeah, I'm going to have to cut down. Let me just cut out, just because I'm going to get it closer, just like that, so that it's, I could use my, here in my studio, I would be using my larger Boss. But when you're going to craft someplace, it's so nice to have this little one with you. And for me to just have it on the shelf behind me that I can just lift it down and die cut for you is just the coolest thing, I think. Trying to get that so that it's gonna, I need some of my little Post-its or some Post-it tape. I actually just invested in some Post-it tape because I want to make sure that my dies are not going to move on me. So what I do is I just rip it, and I use the sticky part just to hold it down so that when I cut, yeah, I know this is taking longer than I thought. If I had the bigger one, it would be a whole lot easier. But I put that out of my way already, and I actually only have the plates for embossing here with the bigger one. So we're running that through our embossing machine just like that. Voila. I like Post-it because it's not too sticky. That's not a terrific job. I'm going to have to use, see, it was too close to the edge. Obviously, if you don't get the dies, I guess you can easily hand cut these. I don't think I would, but I'm a big fan of all the matching dies, but it does get expensive. It's quite fun to have all of the matching pieces. You know, the bundles, all the dies that match. You know how we had the apples that came out and the little piggy. It was so much fun. The stamp set was so much more fun to do it because it had all those pieces. So I've already die cut my old olive. I gotta come down. Sorry guys, I hope you guys can all see what I'm doing. I've already die cut my 2 earth and texture ferns, and I'm just going to attach them. I'm actually going to trim the bottom so that they don't stick out underneath my, I'm just gonna kind of layer them right here. I'm gonna add just a little bit of glue to the back. Just a tiny bit of glue. This, if you're gonna do this, and you're really concerned about how it sticks, you might want to add the adhesive sheets to the back. Or what you could do is put this on a silicone mat and use a sponge to add all of the glue to the back. You want your silicone mat because if you don't, because when it's dry, you can just rub the glue right off of that. So that's a good reason to have that. Okay, what do we do next? We're going to attach the coconuts next. And I didn't pop anything up, I just attached them. So you saw how I made the flowers. So I'm just attaching this just like this, right there. I'm going to attach the next one right next to it, just like that. Very cool. I'm following mine, which is right here, right next to it. I've already die cut all of my labels, and I used the, which one did I use? I used Lemon Lime Twist. So not Parakeet Party, the little darker one I used right here, just like that. I've already die cut them. I've already stamped them because I don't want, once you've seen me cut something, you know how to cut. So I'm just going to layer this underneath just like that. Let me put another one a little bit over top just like that, and then we're going to add our flowers. So that's going to be so much fun, especially because they're all going to be different, because it's however you guys mix your colors. So you can do this with anything. Obviously it doesn't have to be here. I'm going to do it just like that. Okay, and I'll just cover it. I've got all these flowers here. Aren't they so cool? I love the colors of these. They're so fun. Okay, you know what I'm going to do is attach some, I'm going to pop these up. So I've got for my bigger ones, I can use my bigger dots and my bigger bump it ups. Dimensionals, that's what they're called. They're called dimensionals right there. I'm going to put another big one. Down here, I guess. Cover up my ink, my adhesive, blop, splooch, whatever. Just like that. We're going to just keep adding some and just kind of vary the colors a little bit. I'm going to need to use my mini dimensionals for the smaller flowers. So I'm going to use one that's a little bit more yellow with the crushed curry that I ended up adding at the end. And we'll just put that right there. Almost done with this card, guys. Got that like this. And what I could do with these is just attach these to the inside. So then I won't have any naked insides, okay, Rose? Just to let you know, I paid attention. I was listening. Okay, these are the classic matte dots. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool. Some people like to use the pokey end. I like to keep that just for poking out my little chads from my embossing, die cutting. I could use the spatula, and what I primarily use the spatula for is lifting up tear and tape. I put it under the middle and just kind of scoop it up, and there you go. I always end up using my putty end, and you can get refills for this too. So what I'm going to do is just see how quickly that just picks those up, and I can attach it right to the middle just like that. I love the black dots. It's so, well, so classic looking, right? Striking. It is striking, that's what it is. Okay, and there we go. One last thing we have to do. We just want to stamp our sentiment. I have a 3/4 inch strip of crumb cake. I was going to do 1/2 inch. It just wasn't wide enough for the sentiment. This one, we have to say enjoy the sweeter things in life because obviously coconuts are not zesty. So we are going to use the pecan pie. I've got everything everywhere. Do you see my place? This is what I do my entire studio. But you know, everybody says that that's a sign of a creative mind, right? That's what they say. And I believe them because that's the only hope I have to hang on to. I'm going to just stand up so I can see this. And I'm going to stamp this towards the end in the center of that 3/4 inch strip. Just like that. And I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm just going to cut an angled end just like that. We are going to close up the ink before I get it everywhere. And we are going to pop up. Sorry, I'm being lazy. I'll use those strips. Always use the outside of the dimensionals. They're so good, especially, you know, oh, you know what? I have to show you. I have to show you what I use these for. Look at this. I'm going to cut it like this. And this is terrific for those long, narrow strips. So just like that, I'm going to go like this. I could even cut those off if I wanted to, but I'm just going to go like that. And voila, this works really great for my sentiments. I'm going to add this up to the top right here. I'm putting the edge next to the basic white, and I'm going to just go like that. And voila, we have our card. And like I said, everybody's is going to look different because when you watercolor your flowers, you guys saw how I did it. I used the refills on the watercolor paper, and then I mixed them and I die cut them, and oh, love this card. Love it, love it. Okay, card number 4. I'm a big fan of this card too. I'm not modest right now because you know what? It takes me so long to design a card. You're not going to see it if I don't love it. That's the way it works. This is my 4th card, blue and yellow. Boy, are these my favorite colors. I love yellow. I probably like more of a butter yellow than the Daffodil Delight. It stamps kind of dark. This is Daffodil Delight, by the way. But let me show you how I made this card. Do you recognize this designer paper on the back? Behind here on my basic white thick cardstock. I don't know if you do, but I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to show you what it is. Let me move this out of the way. I love the Daisy designer paper, and I'm going to show you. This is the bottom of it. And when I cut strips so that I have lots of daisies, there is a strip at the top that is this solid blue. And that's what it is. I'm using this as my background. Just love. See, it's the same blue, but it's plain, so it makes a great background. Don't throw those strips away. And then you can use I can probably actually get 6 cards out of 1 sheet of designer paper because I will have my daisies. Those, I would do 4 by 5 1/4. I'd do 4 of them, and then I could do 2 of these yet. So that's what that comes from. Let me bring that over here, and we're going to make that card very quickly. I have a thick white basic white card base. This one happens to be, because this is what I had in my drawer, this happens to be 4 1/4 by 11 inches scored at 5 1/2, but you could also do it so that it flips up. You know how I do those cards quite often. Then I have this piece of the designer paper. So this is the back, and I don't know if you noticed, but the back of the Daisy paper, most of them are the in colors on the back that are kind of this washed, painted layers. So anyway, I'm going to just attach this. I believe it's 3 1/2 inches. Yes, 3 1/2 inches by 5.5 inches is what I used for this base. Let me just add this like that. I'm going to attach that. I'm going to center it top and bottom, just like that. If you're worried about it going over, what I can do, don't look at my nails, guys. My nails are a mess because of gel that I had done months and months and months ago. Still recovering from that. Next, what I did was I cut a, where is it? Okay, I don't know where. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I've got my basic white scraps. I have the tags. So there's 2 tags. You can have the one that has a little bit more of a scalloped top, or you can have your plain tag. These are the tailored tags dies. And what I'm going to do, let me just use my little tool here to poke out my center. What I'm going to do first is stamp my sentiment. I used the boho blue. And I did thanks a bunch because I figured we have a bunch of these yellow citrus. So we can say thanks a bunch, just so we use a different stamp this time. I don't know if you noticed, but I totally messed this one up on the back and stamped it crooked. And I tried to do the flowers. There's this flower stamp. Instead, I ended up die cutting the flowers, but it was just such a mess. It was too much. So I turned my tag over, and what I also did, let me show you. I also, besides stamping the sentiment, I stamped my flowers. I'm just going to show you. I've already die cut them. What I first of all love, I wish they had the little dots as one of the, stamps, so you could add a little bit of the dots here to your card, but they don't. You'd have to stamp that directly, but this matches your die with a set of 3. So see how perfectly that cuts it out? It's a perfect match. I've already done that, and they are here on my Post-it, ready to go. I again stamped those in boho blue. Love that in color. I'm going to show you, oh, I forgot to grab the tweezers. I'm going to show you, this is a scrap of my black and white gingham ribbon. I'm going to just thread that through. I wanted to grab my tweezers, but they're in my toolkit, which is in my stamping bag, which never quite made it to Maryland's this weekend. I could have tied a bow with this, but what I'm going to do instead is tie a bow with my baker's twine here. I don't know if you recognize this twine, but this is, I think I used it on last week's cards as well. This is the Parakeet Party in color from last year, baker's twine. So I'm just going to, since I don't have my tweezers yet, I'm just going to make a bow. This is kind of hard to do with big fat fingers. That's why I wanted to have my tweezers, but you get the idea. Just like that. And I always leave one side attached, so I can always undo it and start again, so I'm not wasting too much ribbon or whatever. We're just going to cut that. There we go. Oh, let's cut our ribbon too. I'm going to cut at an angle my black and white gingham ribbon. This was a scrap I found on my counter, and I said, you know, that would be striking with the blue and the yellow and the green. So that's what we did. Okay. I've got that. Next, what I'm going to do is stamp my yellow. What I have figured out, the easiest thing to do is stamp your insides first. I tried to do it with the outsides and then fitted, and this rind was just, or the slices, the slice was above a little bit. So what I'm going to do instead, I like to do, you have to figure out what works best. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's my Christmas clock. It's 5 minutes fast, so that I usually finish 5 minutes of and know to open my door for my classes. I'm long-winded today, but I did start 5 minutes late too. Okay, so this is Daffodil Delight, and then we're going to use our rind, and I'm going to show you how easy this is to line up. You really don't need to ink up that stamp. If you are going to ink up that stamp, make sure you've got scrap paper under you. I got to stand up. We're going to do it just like that. And hope for the best. You know, who cares if it's not perfect? And then what I will do is die cut that. I'm not going to do it now because I guess I didn't die cut extra, but I would die cut it. You know how much trouble I had with using my mini boss before. So I'm not going to do that now. But what I did next was I've got my flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm popping up my tag. And I've got my little slices that I'm going to add on here. I don't want to take too much more of your time. What I'm going to do is go like that, just like that. I'm adding my slices, and then once again, just like I did before, I've got my flowers here ready to add. I laugh at these people that have their perfect craft rooms behind them and their perfect desks, because mine just doesn't look like that ever, ever, ever. For my big flower, I can use a big dimensional, and I'm going to add that, where did I add it? I added it up towards the top. Yeah, I've got to add my slices. You guys you see the card when I finish. I'm going to show you again. But the other thing that I did, I'll just add, oh, didn't take off the back. Just like that. And one more, with one more mini dimensional. It's so easy to take off these backs, especially if you have nails. I'll put that over here. I've got my leaves that I've already added, and then all I have to add is the slices. But what I wanted to show you is I had two choices for dots. I was looking at these, but I think the yellow is a little bit, it kind of clashes with the Daffodil Delight, don't you think? This really looks like crushed curry, but I promise you it's Daffodil Delight. The lemon lolly is a little bit too light, but that would be nice for the colored centers. And I think the blue is a little bit too much blue. So what I ended up was going with these glossy dots right here. These carried over from last year. And these work really well. I'm going to use the little ones on my little ones, just like that. I'm going to tuck in a couple of leaves. I ended up, let me show you the finished card again. This is the finished card. I ended up with 3 leaves. You can do whatever you want. You see how this one I ended up using 4 leaves, even though it looks like 3 bunches. That gives quite a bit of interest. And then this card here, I have actually ended up using 2. Maybe if I went back, I would actually add a second one right there and maybe move that dot a little bit now that I look at it. 3s tend to look better than just 2. So, but these are my 4 cards. Let me move my mess out of the way so you can see them one last time. And I'll have this on YouTube, or you can watch it here again. I don't edit my videos. What you see is what you get. I did realize, I think this designer paper is a retired paper that we used yesterday. So I was thinking that the perfect paper, it's a little bit lighter, but this is the new Masterfully Made paper. And that's what we'll be using, and you'll get in your card kit if you place your $35 order for in my store, stampingwithjeannie.stampinup.net. Here are the 4 cards. Please leave me a comment. I want to hear where you're watching from. I want to hear what you think. I want to hear what your favorite card is. You know, it's not quite in, there it is. Tell me your favorite card. I'd love to hear. I know my favorite card. I think I said it over and over again, but I want to hear your favorites. And what do you think? And one last thing, if you guys have any other ideas for other videos for me to do, Facebook Lives, I'd love to hear it because I'm running out of ideas. I'm looking forward to the new catalog where we have more ideas still That's going to come up. We can pre-order in July. You probably won't see too much of that before August. But anyway, thank you for joining me. Let me flip back and say goodbye. See you guys. Have a great night. Thanks for joining me. I won't be here next week. Actually, I won't be here for the next 2 weeks. Next week, I may join you on Sunday. We have to see. But I'm working next Monday in the clinic, so I'll see you later. Have a great week and happy stamping. Bye.